Craig Irwin, an analyst for Roth Capital, was back at it again on CNBC, saying that Tesla is egregiously overvalued. His price target for Tesla stock, $85. The guy just can't stop himself being wrong for so many years. Even the host had to address the elephant in the room. Today, let's listen to his reasoning. Might he be finally right about Tesla in 2024? Competition, China, and his comparison of Tesla to Toyota. Today, we've got Larry Goldberg joining us, and he's going to be a great person to analyze this. He's been following Craig Irwin and Gordon Johnson and all these bears for many years. Welcome, Larry.
Thanks, David. Great to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us again. So let's start with the news here. So you got Roth Capital, Craig Irwin. I don't know why they put him on. I mean, they love to have these bears on, even though he's been wrong every single year for I don't know how long, maybe 5 years, 10 years. He says, I'm bearish because I see it as egregiously overvalued. When we look at Toyota as a benchmark, there's nothing Tesla has that Toyota does not. Competition, China has overtaken them. It's going to be a tough 2024. Let's go watch his video here, and you can react to it.
Now to one of the names that helped power the gains we saw in the S&P today, Tesla. That stock leading the average up 2% today on a report that electric vehicle company is planning to revamp its Model Y version from its Shanghai plant starting in the middle of 2024. Let's bring in Roth Capital senior research analyst Craig Irwin. Craig, it's great to have you on. You've been bearish on Tesla for like ever. I mean, I feel like it's been years that I've spoken to and you've been bearish on Tesla. And yet the stock has performed really well despite whatever you want to say about the fundamentals. Why are you still bearish here?
So I'm bearish because I see it as egregiously overvalued, right? We look at Toyota as a benchmark, right? Toyota is the world's largest auto producer, about 9 million cars a year. There's nothing Tesla has that Toyota does not. Why should it trade at a large multiple to Toyota? You know, if it's going to sell a fraction of the vehicles, you know, maybe the technology premium, the leadership in EVs, give it a similar valuation. And that's really what we do with our $85 price target.
Okay. What do you think about that, Larry? Let's pause it there.
Well, it's at par with his previous forecasts. You know, every time he forecasts, he gives a slightly different take or a slightly different reason depending on the season and the, I guess, the weather. But the reality is that Toyota does not have what Tesla has. They would not be paying justice to come over to Japan to teach them how Tesla manufactures vehicles if they had what Tesla had. But it's not manufacturing alone that Tesla leads significantly Toyota and the rest of the auto manufacturers. Tesla doesn't just move molecules for a business. It is deeply involved in AI, deeply involved in technology, in software technology, and deeply involved in energy business, which is a very significant and becoming more significant part of its business. So to compare Toyota with Tesla is something like comparing back in the 20th century, a company like, U.S. Steel with Boeing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It makes, well, for me, of course, I'm a bull with you, but it's what doesn't make sense is that he's stubborn. He's been saying the same thing for so many years, despite that Toyota is the least, the one that's actually very behind in EVs. And then what he says next is actually kind of,
But you have to admit that this clock, the stuck clock, was right back at the end of last year for a couple of months.
Yeah, sure. But it's not because of his comparison to Tesla Toyota and how his valuation is. Okay, let's continue watching him.
So I'm not celebrated, though. I do need to clarify that. There are levers that they can pull, specifically the mini car in India. We've been waiting for them on both of these really since 2019. Back actually when we were last, I believe, really bullish on the stock. But from here, I see this one as a slow drip over the next couple of years.
Okay. So I guess what do you make then of the reports then today about a revamp of its most popular model in one of its largest markets, where I guess, from which its factory sends out and exports the most EVs to different parts of the world.
Yeah, no, the Shanghai facility is the most important facility for Tesla. So it's necessary. All of their models are long in the tooth. People have been asking for updates of the S, the X, the 3 for years, and the Y, is losing market share in China. It's no longer the leading EV in China, so I think it's overdue, right? Some of these other updates are many years overdue. Everybody was looking forward to a new Roadster. Everybody's looking forward to the Cybertruck. Finally, we got a couple, right? They're late. Competition's real. Competition in China is overtaking them, and it's going to be a tough 2024 for Tesla.
It's going to be a magnificent 2024. It's going to be, one of the hallmark years for Tesla. Now, there are going to be some changes in Tesla. We're going to see a significant uptick in R&D. We're going to see perhaps even more compression of their auto gross margins for a significant portion of the year. So there are going to be some problems, but in general, we're going to see a breakout of the energy business. We're going to see, Cybertruck just hit it out of the park. We're going to see a very significant increase in output from both Berlin and Texas in the Y. Are we going to see an announcement before the end of the year on the new model car, next gen car? So and we're going to see V12 come out of FSD. It's going to be a magnificent year. So I think we're in a very, very good position. Now, I'm not a stock. I don't call the stock, and I'm not going to say it's going to go up or it's going to go down because, frankly, I don't much care about the stock price in 2024. I'm looking a bit beyond that, but it's going to be a magnificent year for Tesla.
I love it. Thank you so much for that, Larry. Let's continue watching him.
I mean, expanding even beyond Tesla on a day where we are also having reports that a Chinese EV maker, BYD, may be poised as soon as this quarter to overtake Tesla as the top EV maker and seller globally. What are your expectations for the EV market in 2024 when you do have a player in China that is aggressively subsidizing and making these new cars and exporting them to different parts of the world? And you do have Europe and the U.S. considering tariffs, and it sort of speaks to the geopolitical landscape as we talk about energy transformation.
You nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. So, Tesla's looking at a 4% growth rate for revenue for the fourth quarter. That's due to pricing pressure. How on earth are we going to see acceleration to 13% in the first quarter? EVs are real. They're here. They're inevitable. Thank you, Elon, right? I'm a big fan of EVs. Tesla's facing real competition during a period of economic weakness. So they're going to have more price cuts, and there are going to be more companies like BYD with super credible vehicles out there on the road. So, EVs overall, I see as inevitable. Yes, this is going to be a painful year as far as price cuts and maybe growth not as strong as people would like to see in the market. But they're inevitable. They're here for the long haul. And I think, the price cuts that we see over the course of 2024 are going to be really what creates the market. When EVs are fundamentally cheaper than ICE vehicles, they're going to be really compelling for consumers, and they're going to be a much larger mix of the overall sales mix.
Okay, so that's the surprising part, right? He's actually a believer that EVs are inevitable. And yet earlier in the segment, he talks about Tesla versus Toyota. And Toyota's got basically no presence in electric vehicles, and yet it's inevitable. It's coming future. So it's confusing to me. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, these logical inconsistencies always exist amongst these analysts who just really hate Tesla. I mean, there's no other explanation for it. Look, BYD is definitely growing its volume dramatically, issuing products across many price levels and across many product lines. And so their volumes are going to exceed Tesla. But Tesla's never been the great volume leader in any of the fields that it's in, although actually the Y, which is completely outselling its priced category, is a volume leader. So I don't expect that in China Tesla will always be the volume leader. On the other hand, if you look at Germany, I expected Volkswagen to become the volume leader because they have so many models across such a wide price range, and yet it's failed to do that. So and Tesla would be the first company to tell you, look, we want every auto company, every OEM to be building and delivering EVs at volume, and volumes do not scare us at all. But on the other hand, to talk about Tesla not succeeding next year, it's kind of, he's going to have pie in his face by the end of next year. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, so. I mean, I look at it as why don't people learn? Just look at what happened with Apple and Android. I tell my friends when they say the competition's coming, I say, yes, let's say that the competition does come. Let's give it to you and assume that 85% of all electric vehicles are now no longer Teslas, right? They're going to be just like Apple did with 15% of the market share. And they only had 15%, and Android or Samsung and others had 85%. Apple still became the largest company in the world. They have the most margins. That's exactly what's going to happen now. So it's like he believes that Tesla will fall to be its valuation back to $85 because why? Because he thinks that in order for that to happen, it's going to be crazy. So here's what's
I wanted to just make the point that Tesla Boomer Mama did a comparison between BYD and Tesla, and you only had to look at the profitability of the two and the revenue of the two to see that they may produce the most cars, but Tesla still has by far the profit lead and the revenue lead. And by the way, that's going to increase. That lead is going to increase quite dramatically because BYD's volumes are down market. Yes, they're also actually competing with the Tesla car at volume within China, but from a dollar point of view, Tesla's way, way in the lead, and that's your Apple versus Android comparison is quite apt.
And it's even bigger than that, right? Because Hans Nelson had a tweet just recently, and he said, he sees Tesla like Amazon. Amazon initially started selling books, but they're expanding to all sorts of different things. Absolutely. Here's Elon replying to that Craig Irwin video. He says, Craig Irwin, he's referring to him, he has the wrong frame of reference. Tesla's an AI robotics company. So there's a couple things I love about this, right? It's like, I love it. Elon, please, over and over and over again, talk about Tesla as an AI robotics company. He's referenced Tesla's cars as just robots on wheels. And that, right, we're competing in the auto market. And so Craig Irwin says, oh, you got to give it the same PE as Toyota. Fine, give it the same PE as Toyota. Now let's add the other PE for AI, robotics, energy, solar panels, everything else. Add them all up.
That's roughly the equivalent of somebody trying to compare the Apple PE with the PE of Nokia. It's just ludicrous, really.
Yeah, this is where it's confusing because he does believe that EVs are inevitable, and he knows that. And so then,
that's true.
What?
But he thinks that Toyota will turn the key and suddenly produce EVs. The fact that almost no traditional OEMs, with the possible exception of Hyundai, have been able to produce EVs at scale and profitably, and probably Hyundai are not yet profitable, is indicative to me, and should be to him, that this is not as easy as Toyota says, oh, we'll just make some EVs.
Yeah.
I don't understand the difficulty these guys have in conceiving of this reality, because the reality is staring them in the face.
I was going to ask you this, Larry, because I don't know I've ever asked you this, but Nicholas Colas, who is an analyst, 30-year Wall Street analyst, but also 30 years of auto industry, and he pointed out a couple points. He said that Toyota and Tesla have maintained their PE ratio. Everyone else has fallen. Why? Because he's basically said that's dead and that's alive. Basically, he believes that Toyota and Tesla are the only ones that are going to win in the EVs. Everyone else is going to die. And so the market has sniffed that out, and they've started to just not give Ford its PE they used to have. Why Toyota? Because Nicholas Colas, also believes that Toyota, don't count them out. They will be able to come back and address all this. What was your reaction when you might have heard Nicholas Colas talk about this?
Yeah, firstly, Nick Colas is one of my heroes. I mean, I worship the guy, and I've been a follower of him for some time. So Toyota has incredible depth of engineering, incredible financial reserves, unlike many of the US and European automakers. Toyota has the aptitude to actually evolve. The fact that they brought Joe Justice to Japan is an indicator that they're not asleep at the wheel as they appear to be. They are beginning to make a massive change in their approach, and I think we will see the results of that. You know, Nick does understand Toyota. He's walked the factory floors at Toyota. He has talked to the people at Toyota. So I think he understands what's happening at Toyota. It's vastly different to what happened at Volkswagen. You know, Volkswagen famously fired Diess, who actually had the right ideas. It was extremely difficult to implement, apparently, at Toyota. And I think that the software strategy was disastrous. I mean, any software executive worth his salt could have told him this was the wrong way to approach it. Anyway, I think Nick may be right. I think Toyota could well, come out of this in good shape.
Okay. That's what the stock market is betting on. And so Tesla and Toyota actually have the right market PE ratio at this point. But yeah, Elon said it right? So Tesla is not just a car company. And that's why the market PE ratio is way more than just the $85 that Greg Irwin says.
Herbert, I'll tell you something. There are analysts who tout Tesla stock who still do not understand the Tesla company.
Yeah,
it's very sobering, but true.
It is. Yep. And I think most people, even the analysts, have agreed that the retail analysts like us, the retail investors like us, get the company more. And eventually the institutionals are following along. So let's hope that that's what happened. Thank you so much, Larry. Follow Larry and X at Tesla Larry. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.